So welcome everybody, and today I got a special guest on Executive Insights. It's Paul Almond. So Paul, before we get started, why don't you just introduce yourself to everybody and your company and what you do?
Sure, thanks, Kevin. My name is Paul Almond, and I'm the Technical Director with Data Center UK. Data Center UK are a Schneider elite partner based in Manchester.
We've been talking to different executives throughout this series. Something that an observation I've come out with is a lot of the customers one of the things they've learned through this pandemic is the server rooms are incredibly important. And, in your observation, is this something that customers have been doing a good job with in the past?
I think, yeah, they have been monitoring in the past, but certainly, effective remote monitoring of the critical infrastructure has become increasingly important, especially where many offices or facilities are suddenly needed to become unmanned for long periods of time throughout the pandemic.
So when they became unmanned, all of a sudden customers started realizing that maybe they weren't managing them as effectively as they thought they were. Is that a good summary of?
Yeah, that's right. People get used to being able to pop in and out of rooms or buildings, and when that's not possible, then remote monitoring really comes into its own for them.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I've had some discussions with people about not only the importance of remote monitoring and how that's changed, because the pandemic forced you to go unmanned, so it really highlighted some of the weaknesses. But I'm curious, there's been a lot of discussions about different verticals. Maybe things are different for different areas. Is healthcare different than finance? Is it different than some other vertical? Or what's your take on that?
We've seen a few differences between the verticals, but really it's affected everyone in very similar ways. It's a problem for most organizations, CIO or CTO, to come to grips or get to grips with what's gone on and how things have changed.
So you've seen similar challenges, similar recommendations. Has there been a change in kind of the types of software and solutions that people are giving, and has there been a change in what you're recommending customers do versus maybe what you would have 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago?
Well, there's certainly been the push for cloud and hybrid. So we're seeing a lot more as a service type solutions for our customers, and also where we've been looking at product selection. The customers are wanting to know that out of the box monitoring and alerting is right up there with the must-haves for anything they're choosing.
And so you talk about remote monitoring, again, I mean, we've been selling monitoring packages for, say, UPSs, or the basic equipment, but did the portfolio or the needs expand at all as you went through this pandemic in terms of the types of things that customers wanted to monitor? Did it get broader in any way?
Not really, I don't think. I say it's that the solutions have always been there for different products, and it's really making sure that where equipment has monitoring and alerting, that actually it's set up. That's something else we've seen. Customers who thought they'd set everything up or looked after it themselves, they may well have found that over the years, people have gone in, people have changed things, and when they suddenly need to make sure it works, the day they come to look at it and find out, they maybe find that it's not quite how they thought it was or how they want it to be. So we've been working with a lot of our customers in making sure everything is running and really is tip top for them.
So making sure everything is running, but I assume you've also seen if things are unmanned, you've seen an uptick in the need for maybe more environmental monitoring and things like leak detection than maybe we would have been a year ago. That becomes a bigger requirement. Is that true?
Yeah, definitely. At the start of the crisis, we had a very quite a long warm spell. So temperature monitoring was taught to a few of our customers and cooling solutions. And then towards the end, we had sites affected by flash flooding. So then leak detection suddenly becomes the new hot point. So the customers are really looking at how they kind of a broad range of monitored environmental and physical conditions. And so the solutions we're putting in for them is looked at everything from leak detection, temperature, humidity monitoring, and security with access and video recording.
So that was unique to the UK, right? The heat and the flash flooding that started happening. In your view, though, are there any other geographic specific things that occurred, or was it pretty consistent throughout Europe?
From what I've seen, it's quite consistent throughout Europe. A number of our customers have global organizations with offices across the world, and we look after many of their solutions. So we were seeing similar problems around the place, nothing specific to the UK or I think Europe, but many places had exactly the same problems.
Yeah, just without the flooding and the heat wave, right? So,
Quite possibly.
right. So, and so as we've been talking with some other people, there's been this theme that's come out in some of our conversations about the relationship with the customers, and in some cases that got strained, in some cases it got better. What's your impression of, what's been the impact of the last 9 months on the relationship you've had with your customers?
Well, customer service has always been a major part of or the ethos of our organisation. So keeping in touch with our customers, understanding what they're doing, looking forward to and what they want to be doing and what they need to be doing. So we've always had a very good relationship with our customers. When the pandemic hit, customers were comfortable just to give us a call, or we were already talking to them. So really, it was a case of business as usual in that respect. But certainly, some of the requirements became more urgent. And so we were seeing a lot quicker turnaround on decisions for products where it might have been months or weeks. That was being done in days. So yeah, we always had a very good relationship with our customers, but making sure that we're available for them has been key to getting everyone through this.
Yeah, so this theme of compressed time of decisions that would take weeks took days, and implementations and acceleration. And if I understand you correctly, some of this is maybe accelerating to the cloud in certain applications.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So, yeah, some of it's accelerated the cloud, and cloud deployments have increased. But again, on the hybrid solutions, those are also have been very popular with our customers. And so using parts of the cloud, but also some of their own kit in their own hybrid data centers. So using both together has given customers a lot of the functionality to grow and move forward that they need to.
So I'm going to dive into that for a second. It's interesting. You talk about, the hybrid environment and what that might look like. What are the applications, or what are the things that you see your customers hanging on to on-prem, right, versus what they're moving to the cloud? Is there a consistent theme? Is it just something where they want to keep it on-prem because it makes them feel better, or is there actual real business need there in your view?
Well, quite a few customers have got a significant investment in their infrastructure. So they're not always as keen to move it straight to the cloud. Sometimes hybrid may be a stepping stone, but cloud's one of those things that people can't control. So if there is a cloud outage and your whole system's in the cloud, then that will affect them. So customers quite often will use parts of the cloud for applications, or they may well have bespoke applications or customer data that they want to hold on to locally. So that whole hybrid approach works well for them.
Maybe you can dive into a little bit. I didn't hear you talk about security there. So is there a perception that there's a security risk moving to the cloud, or is there a security risk staying on-prem? How do you give guidance to customers on that topic?
Security has always been a major concern for any customer looking to move to the cloud, but I think over the years, the cloud providers have made significant moves forward in that. When we're looking at on-prem security, again, this is something that customers are comfortable with. They understand it, so it's easy for us to be able to work with them and assess their needs and ensure that they get the physical security right, which then gives them the ability to sort out their data security. But moving wholly to the cloud, yeah, some customers do want to do that, and they're quite happy to do that. Others are maybe a little bit more cautious and just want to make sure they've got all their bases covered.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've said before is that physical security is the first step towards cybersecurity, and that without physical security, you really don't have it. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So, Paul, we talked about a little bit about digital acceleration, and you gave a few high-level examples. I was wondering, do you have any specific example of a customer or a project that happened that really kind of would give some details on digital acceleration?
Yeah, certainly one of our larger data center provider customers had a growth program in place and buildings built, but they've seen such a rise in take up of their space. They've actually accelerated additional building works to further cope with the increase in customers. So they're seeing a growth in organizations moving to the cloud or moving to a hosted infrastructure. And that's really accelerated their own building plans and their own growth plans to be able to cope with that in what was going to be the medium to long term, but now has become short to medium term.
Yeah, so long-term capital improvements actually became short-term capital improvement plans.
Absolutely, yeah.
Paul, so the topic of edge computing, I assume you've heard of this in this industry. We've been talking about edge computing quite a bit, and and I've yet to have anybody give me a really good definition of it. So maybe you just talk about edge computing a little bit and what you're seeing, and then I want to hear your definition.
Okay, well, yeah, Edge has been around for quite a few years, and it means different things to different people. But really, what we're seeing is that for most customer, Edge, whether they realize it or not, is just as critical as their central data center. The kit in there needs power, it needs cooling, it needs monitoring, and just as importantly, it needs security. For example, we have a couple of customers who they have their new HQ being designed and built, and Edge is a critical part of that installation or that design now. They're actually looking at the edge, how each of those rooms is powered and protected. And we have another customer in manufacturing, and Edge now really is important for their data collection, and they're running IoT systems in there. So for them, Edge is critical because it brings back the live data back from their equipment, which helps them know exactly where everything is in the manufacturing process.
Yeah, so in some ways, is it safe to say that maybe what we considered server rooms and wiring closets, we used those types of words in the past, now are kind of turning into micro data centers or edge computing environments? Is that, do you see that definition holding
Yeah,
up?
yeah, absolutely, definitely. So, well, as well as the micro data centers being a whole other deployment within Edge solutions, but yeah, the data and the equipment in there is just as important.
Yeah, so it's really about, taking things and we used to treat the data center and manage it and had great controls over it and kind of ignored those, arguably, as an industry. So it's how do we get an appropriate level of management and solutions that bring it up closer to maybe the criteria that what we call a data center. Am I taking
Yeah,
is that a good interpretation?
yeah, understanding the importance. And so for those customers who possibly neglected the importance of those either the wiring closets or small server rooms, they quite often paid with problems and issues which arose out of that. So now it is the customers are seeing it as an area that needs addressing, and I say that the security and the monitoring is as important as in the main data center.
So I got one last question for you, I think, Paul, is you know,
Okay.
there's definitely a sense of companies are persevering, right, over the last year through this. And I'm just curious about what do you think is the longer term impact with your customers and how is it going to change your relationship with them or kind of the softer side of things? What do you think is maybe some implications we should all think about?
Wow, I don't know. The for the future for some of our customers is going to be a long road. For others, it's a chance to expand. We have, say, customers in different verticals. One of our larger customers is an online retailer, and for them, this pandemic has been seen an explosion in their business, and so has accelerated some of their projects. For other customers, in perhaps in the building side, some of these larger projects have been put on hold, so they're finding it tougher. Really, for us, it's just working with the customers to ensure the solutions we put forward are right for them, and certainly agile, enables them to adapt to change when needed.
So it's interesting. So in some ways, the customer's demand on you has gone up, right? So how are you guys
Sort of,
adjusting to
yeah,
that? Yeah.
yeah.
How are you guys adjusting to that as a business?
Yeah, well, for some of our customers, it has. It's been a bit of a balancing act. So for some customers, we're seeing a higher requirement for our services and our support and our assistance. For those other customers who've taken a downturn in their business, we're speaking to them less for new projects. So really, we're just reassigning our time to those customers that need to work with us now to move their own projects forward.
And I know you guys have always been customer centric, but maybe even, accelerating or refocusing, becoming even more customer centric. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, definitely. Thinking about how we can best assist our customers, keep an eye on what the markets are doing, what the products are doing, what new products are coming to market, and how we may be able to assist our customers with those products or how it will assist their business.
We've been talking about the ecosystem, and it sounds like you'd agree with us is that, hey, we really need to think as an ecosystem. How do we operate differently and do it in a way that brings the most value to our joint customers? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. And we're working well. The partnership with Schneider works very well in that. There's a good breadth of products that are all working together to give the customer the best value for their product selection.
Well, that's great, Paul. Those are all the questions I had for today. Thanks again so much for joining us on Executive Insights, and good luck as we continue to work on our business together.
Thank you very much. Good luck to you.